This is a very brief video on asexual reproduction and mitosis. So let's start. This is only a 2-slide presentation, and all I want you to take away from this is basically what it is and when it happens. So again, asexual reproduction is mitosis, right? You're not making gametes. You're not making sperm and egg cells, which we'll talk about when we cover meiosis later. So this is only mitosis. It's your typical run-of-the-mill cell division, nothing fancy going on here. But the reason we consider it asexual reproduction is because in this case, actually in these cases, there are 4 different cases that we'll see when this happens. In these cases, you're not simply dividing to repair damaged tissue, nor are you dividing to make the body you are part of bigger. Instead, you're doing mitosis to make an entire new organism. Sometimes that organism is unicellular, and sometimes it will eventually become multicellular. So you'll see each of those on the next slide. But here's just kind of the basic definition, right? So any division of cells where the resulting cell is its own individual, right? If you're a single-celled bacteria and you do mitosis, you've asexually reproduced, right? Because there's only one cell, so you're not part of a multi-celled body, right? That does mean that all of your offspring are identical, right? If you do mitosis, the daughter cells are genetically identical to the parent, which means that any variability in daughter cells due to asexual reproduction comes from mutations or environmental effects. And we'll talk about mutations and how they occur and what they are in later units. So these are the 4 types of asexual reproduction that you should be familiar with. And it's not too difficult, so we'll just kind of go through these in turn. I'm going to separate this first one off. Binary fission, again, bi means 2. Fission means to split, so you're splitting in 2. Not a creative name at all, but it tells you exactly what happens. This happens in your prokaryotes. Your prokaryotes. In other words, your bacteria, right? Because your bacterial cells are your prokaryotic cells and vice versa, right? So when they do mitosis, they have reproduced asexually, right? All by themselves. That is the best example of this happening in a single-celled organism. Remember, bacteria are single-celled. These other 3 examples occur in eukaryotes and multi-celled organisms, right? So spores are common in a variety of organisms. It's not specifically one type or one species. Some happen in fungi, some happen in mold, which is similar, a variety of other little microorganisms. Ferns are actually plants that have spores. If you flip over a fern leaf and you look at the underside, or you feel the underside, you'll feel these little bumps, little nodules. Those are actually spores. They're not seeds. Ferns evolved before the evolution of seeds, which is an interesting fact about plants and plant evolution, which we'll get to later in the year. But they make spores rather than seeds, and these are some organisms it happens in. And again, that's mitosis. It's asexual reproduction. You don't need to shuffle genes together from 2 parents at all. Another way this can happen is with budding. Sponges can do this. I'll show you a quick SpongeBob video here in a second. But this is when you have one big cell, the parent cell, and the daughter cell buds off of it. So a fancy way to say this is when you have unequal division of cytoplasm, right? The parent cell hogs the cytoplasm and the little daughter cell just gets a little fraction of it. But that's budding. You'll see that in a second too. Hydra is a stinging nettled animal. It's a cnidarian, kind of like jellyfish and other aquatic organisms that can sting you. You might have seen this underneath a microscope. It kind of looks like almost like a squid. It has like a little body, and then it has like little tentacles coming off of it that sting you. So that's what a hydra is. and that can bud. You can have a little baby hydra coming off the side of it. And then the last one here, again, is vegetative propagation. This is exclusively in plants. If you have ever like broken off a plant or a storm has knocked part of a plant off and you plant that piece of it independently, it can grow to become its own organism. That's also considered asexual reproduction, and it's mitosis, right? So those are the three types of asexual reproduction that are eukaryotic multicellular, and then the binary fission was, of course, for your single-celled prokaryotic bacteria, right? And again, all these are asexual, and all of these are mitosis, right? So here's the video I promised you. This is on SpongeBob, and yes, sponges bud.
Can you reproduce by budding? Can ya?
There you go. So SpongeBob can bud, and I will see you next time.